Jake Miller sat in the back row of his xenobiology class. Around him, students from dozens of different alien worlds filled the seats. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had scales or fur or skin that changed colors. Jake was the only human in the class. Professor Kickstall moved through the classroom on his 8 purple tentacles. His 3 eyes moved independently as he looked at each student. "Today's assignment is simple," the professor said. His voice came through the universal translator in Jake's ear. "Write about a childhood game from your homeworld. Choose one that teaches survival skills." Jake heard the other students start talking. The Zephyrians whispered about games with sounds only they could hear. The crystalline students discussed puzzles made of light. The Murdani talked about swimming together in perfect patterns. Jake picked up his data pad and stared at the blank screen. He tried to think of a game that taught survival skills. His mind went through the games he played as a kid: tag, hide and seek, capture the flag, red light, green light. They all seemed too simple. "What's wrong, Jake?" asked Bria, his roommate. She was a florey with soft green skin and butterfly-like wings. Her voice was always gentle. "I don't know what to write about," Jake said. "All our games seem too easy, compared to what everyone else is talking about." Bria tilted her head. "What games did you play?" "Normal stuff. Hide and seek, tag, things like that." "Hide and seek?" Bria's large eyes widened. "You learned to hide from predators as children?" "What?" "No. It's just a game. One person counts to 10, and everyone else hides. Then they try to find you." Bria looked confused. "And if they find you? Then you're out, or you become the seeker. But why would children practice being hunted?" Jake laughed. "It's not like that. It's fun. We just run around and hide behind trees or under tables." Bria looked even more confused. "You climbed trees as children? And hid under furniture?" "Yeah, sure. Sometimes we played outside in the woods, sometimes in the house." The professor's tentacles made a clicking sound. "Begin writing, students. You have 30 minutes. Jake turned back to his data pad. Maybe hide and seek wasn't that simple after all. He started typing. He wrote about how the game began. One person was it and had to count to a specific number. While they counted, everyone else had to find hiding spots. The seeker couldn't peek or they would be cheating. Jake described different hiding places he remembered: behind big trees, under beds, in closets, inside bushes. He wrote about how you had to be quiet when the seeker got close, how your heart would beat fast when you heard footsteps. He explained how the game could change. Sometimes there was a base where you were safe. Sometimes if you got caught, you had to help seek others. Sometimes you played in teams. Jake wrote about playing in the dark too, how it made the game scarier but more exciting, how older kids would make rules about boundaries. You couldn't hide inside the house, or you couldn't go past the big oak tree. He described the feeling of almost being caught, the quick decision to stay hidden or run for base, the sprint across the yard with the seeker right behind you, the victory of making it to base before being tagged. Around him, other students finished their assignments. Jake saw the Cheetah students' antennae vibrating as they wrote. The rock people from Grattan were carving their answers into stone tablets. 2 minutes left, Professor Kickstall announced. Jake quickly added a few more details. He wrote about variations like hide-and-go-seek tag, where you had to tag people in their hiding spots, and sardines, where one person hid and everyone else had to find them and squeeze into the same hiding spot. He hit submit just as time ran out. "Please pass your work to the front," the professor said. "Tomorrow we will review these in peer groups. You'll read each other's assignments and discuss what you learned." Jake handed his datapad to the student in front of him, a bluish creature with 4 arms who moved very slowly. As the tablets made their way forward, Jake noticed the other students looking at him strangely. "What?" he asked Bria. "You wrote about hiding from seekers, and running when caught, and playing in darkness?" "Yeah, it's a normal game." Bria's wings fluttered nervously. "I think tomorrow will be very interesting, Jake Miller." Jake shrugged. He couldn't understand why everyone seemed so worried. It was just hide and seek. The professor collected all the assignments. Class dismissed. Remember to review the cultural sensitivity guidelines before tomorrow's discussion. Students filed out. Jake noticed whispers following him. The tentacled student from the front row moved quickly away when Jake got close. Even the Chatak, who usually buzzed friendly greetings, kept their distance. Bria, why is everyone acting weird? His roommate's green skin had turned slightly pale. Jake, your childhood games. They sound like combat training. What? No way. They're just games. You'll see tomorrow, Bria said softly. I think your classmates might be scared of human children now. Jake walked to his dorm room, still confused. How could anyone be scared of hide and seek? It was the most innocent game in the universe. He had no idea what would happen when his assignment was read aloud the next day. He had no idea that his simple description of a children's game would cause panic in the entire classroom. He had no idea that by tomorrow afternoon, he would be known as the student whose childhood games were too terrifying for alien minds to comprehend. Jake went to sleep that night thinking about home, about playing hide and seek with his sister Lisa in their backyard, about the old elm tree that was the perfect hiding spot, about his mother calling them inside for dinner. Simple memories of simple games. But for the rest of the galaxy, nothing about human children was simple. Jake woke up the next morning still thinking about his assignment. He grabbed breakfast in the cafeteria, synthetic eggs that tasted almost right and fruit from 3 different planets. Other students gave him strange looks as he ate. Ready? For class? Bria asked, joining him at the table. Her green skin looked even more pale than yesterday. Sure. I'm curious to see what everyone wrote. Bria's wings fluttered. I'm nervous. Why? You'll see. They walked to class together. Jake noticed more students staring at him. A group of Merdani swimming in their mobile tanks moved away quickly when he passed. The rock people made grinding sounds that seemed worried. In class, Professor Kickstill arranged them in circles of 6 students each. Today you'll read each other's assignments and discuss what you learned. This helps us understand different cultures. Jake's group had Bria, a Chatak named Zeke with shiny black shell, a Zephyrian called Glub, who looked like a purple jellyfish, with eyes, a rock person named Steadystone, and a tiny furry creature named Pip whose species Jake couldn't pronounce. Let's begin, Professor Kickstail announced. Each student reads their assignment, then the group discusses. Bria went first. She read about a game called Flower Dance, where young Flory practiced pollination patterns. They danced in groups, passing flower essences to each other. If someone missed a step, they had to start over. No one got hurt, no one ran, no one hid. Beautiful, said Pip in a squeaky voice. Very safe. Zeke went next. The Chatak described hive harmony, where larvae practiced communication by creating sound patterns together. If one larva was off-key, the whole hive had to reorganize. It taught cooperation and precise communication. Fascinating, Glub bubbled. Completely nonviolent. Glub described current swimming, where young Zephyrians rode energy currents between their parents' tentacles. If they lost control, their parents caught them. It taught balance and trust. So gentle, Steadystone rumbled. Steadystone talked about crystal growing contests where young rock people competed to grow the prettiest minerals. Judges picked winners based on beauty and precision. No running, no touching, no danger. Perfect, said Pip. Pip described fur grooming circles where small furry ones practice social bonding by grooming each other's fur in complex patterns. Everyone took turns being groomed and grooming others. Then it was Jake's turn. I wrote about hide and seek, Jake said. He began reading his assignment. The game begins when one person is chosen as the seeker. This person closes their eyes and counts to a predetermined number, usually 10. While the seeker counts, all other participants must find hiding places. Jake noticed everyone had stopped moving. Even Steadystone, who barely moved anyway, seemed more still than usual. Participants hide in various locations, including behind trees, under furniture, inside closets, or within thick vegetation. The seeker must find hidden individuals by actively searching the designated play area. Bria's wings were trembling now. Jake kept reading. When the seeker approaches a hiding spot, participants must remain completely silent and still. Heart rates typically increase due to the excitement of potential discovery. If caught, players must emerge from hiding and either assist in seeking or wait for the next round. "Stop!" squeaked Pip. "Children hunt each other?" "No, it's just a game," Jake said. "Let me finish." Advanced variations include playing in darkness, which increases difficulty and fear response. Some versions require players to reach a base location at full sprint while being chased. Full sprint? Glub's tentacles turned pale blue. Children run at maximum speed? While being pursued? Zick's antennae were buzzing frantically. Jake tried to explain. "It's fun. We like it. Nobody gets hurt. You practice predator evasion as children." Steadystone's voice cracked like breaking rocks. "It's not predator evasion. Watch, let me show you." Jake stood up and crouch-walked behind his chair. "See? You hide like this." Pip fainted. "Jake," Bria whispered urgently, "you're in a hunting position." Jake looked down at himself. He was crouched low, weight on his toes, ready to spring. To him, it was just hiding. To his alien classmates, he looked like a predator, stalking prey. He straightened up. "Sorry, I was just showing how to hide." "You train children to stalk?" Zick backed away, shell clicking nervously. "No, it's the opposite. We're hiding from the seeker." "So children practice being hunted and hunting?" Glub was turning darker purple. "Not hunting. Seeking. It's different." Professor Kickstall slithered over on his tentacles. "What's the disturbance?" "The human child game involves combat training," Steadystone rumbled. "It's not combat." Jake was getting frustrated. "Let me read the rest." He continued his assignment. Hide and seek teaches spatial awareness, stealth movement, quick decision-making, and risk assessment. Children learn to evaluate hiding spots, quickly control their fear responses, and make split-second decisions about when to flee. "Fear responses," Bria gasped. "Flee." Zick buzzed louder. "Combat terminology." Glub's tentacles were waving frantically. Jake kept reading, trying to make them understand. Territory boundaries are established before play begins. Players may not hide beyond these limits. Breaking rules results in temporary exclusion from the game. Territorial warfare. Exclusion punishment. Students, please calm down. Professor Kickstall tried to maintain order. Advanced players develop complex hiding strategies, including decoy movements, misdirection techniques, and camouflage utilization, military tactics, camouflage, deception training. The classroom was in chaos now. Students from other groups were listening and adding to the panic. More Flory fainted. The Chatak formed a defensive cluster. The Murdani retreated into their tanks. Wait, Jake shouted. "You're all misunderstanding." Human offspring engage in survival combat from early age, Steadystone announced to the room. They practice stealth infiltration, Zeke added. And high-speed pursuit, Glub contributed. With psychological stress conditioning, Bria whispered, though she was trying to support Jake. Professor Kickstall's tentacles whistled sharply. Order. Order in the classroom. The aliens settled down but kept staring at Jake. Jake Miller, the professor said, "Please explain why human children require such intensive training." "It's not training. We just think it's fun." "Fun?" Several species made confused sounds in their own languages. "You find combat simulation entertaining." Professor Kickstall's three eyes focused on Jake. "It's not combat. Nobody fights. We just run and hide and laugh." Laughter during predator evasion. Pip had woken up and was hiding behind Bria. "You're all crazy," Jake muttered in English, forgetting his translator was on. The classroom erupted. Again, "The human called us crazy. This is clearly aggressive behavior. Dominance display through verbal aggression. Classic predator intimidation." Professor Kickstall's tentacles turned bright red, which Jake had learned meant extreme agitation. "Class dismissed early. All students report to cultural counseling." Human Jake Miller to my office immediately. As the aliens fled the classroom, Jake heard whispers everywhere. Human children practice military tactics for fun. They enjoy fear and pursuit. They hunt each other recreationally. This explains why humans are so dangerous. Jake stood alone in the empty classroom, his assignment still glowing on his datapad. All he had done was write about hide and seek. How had everything gone so wrong? This is going to be a long day, he thought as he walked to the professor's office. Jake sat outside Professor Kickstall's office waiting. Through the door he could hear the professor talking to someone. The words were muffled, but he caught phrases like cultural misunderstanding and possible threat assessment. The door opened. Professor Kickstall's tentacles gestured for Jake to enter. "Sit down, Jake Miller." The professor's voice was serious. Jake sat in the hover chair designed for multiple species. It adjusted automatically to human proportions. "Explain to me," Professor Kickstall began, "why human children engage in what appears to be combat training disguised as recreation." "It's not combat training, Professor, it's just a game. Kids play it everywhere on Earth, parents encourage it. Parents encourage their offspring to hunt each other. We don't hunt each other. Look, imagine you and your friends are playing. One person closes their eyes and counts. Everyone else finds places to hide. Then the counter tries to find the hidden people. That's it." Professor Kickstall's middle eye blinked rapidly. "But why would anyone enjoy being hunted?" "Because being found isn't that bad. You just become the seeker next time. Or you sit out for a round. No one gets hurt. But the fear response, the elevated heart rate, the adrenaline, yeah, that's part of why it's fun. Humans like a little excitement." The professor made a note on his datapad. "Humans seek voluntary stress stimulation for pleasure." Noted. "It's not stress, it's more like adventure? Challenge? Adventure." Professor Kickstall wrote more. "Humans require danger simulation for psychological development." "No, that's not what I meant." Jake was getting frustrated again. "It's just fun, like how you might enjoy solving puzzles. My species enjoys intellectual challenges that pose no physical risk." "Right, and humans enjoy physical challenges that pose basically no risk either. Hide and seek is very safe. Kids play it all the time with no injuries." Professor Kickstall's three eyes looked at Jake carefully. "I believe you genuinely see this as harmless. However, your classmates are from species where such activities would be unthinkable. I'm starting to understand that. Moreover, your description included elements that to other species sound like military preparation. Stealth, evasion, pursuit, territory control, stress conditioning. But those are just words. It's not like that in reality." "Perhaps not. But perception is important in a multi-species society." There was a chime from the professor's desk. "Ah, the administration wants to discuss this incident. Please wait here." "Professor?" Kickstall slithered out. Jake sat alone in the office, surrounded by strange artifacts from dozens of worlds. None of them looked like toys. None suggested play fighting or chase games. The door chimed again. Bria flew in, her wings barely able to keep her tiny frame aloft. "Jake, the whole school is talking about you." "What are they saying?" "That human children are trained as warriors from birth. That you practice killing games. That this explains why humans are the only species to actually win wars." "Wars? When did humans win any wars?" "The colony defense war. The pirate suppressions. Humans are legendary for military effectiveness." Jake had never thought about it that way. "We just did what we had to do." "Exactly." Bria's wings buzzed excitedly. "Other species surrender quickly. Humans fight until victory. Now we know why. Your children practice warfare as entertainment." "It's not warfare." The door opened again. Professor Kickstall returned with Dean Crystallix, a being made entirely of living crystal. "Jake Miller." The dean's voice chimed like bells. "We need to address this situation before it escalates into a diplomatic incident." "A diplomatic incident? Over hide and seek?" 3 species have filed formal complaints about exposure to violent human cultural practices. The neutral. Council is demanding an explanation." Jake's jaw dropped. "You're kidding. The Flori Embassy insists their students need trauma counseling. The Chatak Collective claims this proves humans deliberately desensitize children to violence. This is insane. Please control yourself, Dean Kristallix chimed. Aggressive outbursts only confirm their suspicions. I'm not being aggressive, I'm just confused. Lower your voice, Professor Kickstall advised. Loud vocalizations are interpreted as dominance displays by many species. Jake took a deep breath. Okay, so what do I do? First, you'll write an apology explaining that you didn't mean to disturb other students. Fine. Second, you'll attend cross-cultural sensitivity training. Fine. Third, you'll demonstrate a peaceful human game to show your species also engages in non-combat recreation. Jake thought about it. What about musical chairs? Dean Kristallix's crystals dimmed. Musical chairs? Yeah, everyone walks around chairs while music plays. When the music stops, everyone sits down. One person is left standing. Elimination through failure to secure territory. Professor Kickstall's tentacles twitched. Scarcity-based competition? Oh, come on. Jake, Bria whispered. Maybe try something gentler? Ring around the rosy? All fall down? Dean Kristallix made a sound like breaking glass. Simulated death? This is impossible. Every human game sounds violent to you. The office fell silent. Jake realized he was standing and breathing heavily. All three aliens had moved away from him. Jake, Bria said softly, maybe that's the point. Maybe human games are more intense than we thought. But we're not trying to be intense, it's just how we play. Dean Kristallix's crystals started glowing again. Perhaps we need to understand why human play is so different from other species. Because we're different? Jake suggested. Indeed, humans come from what we classify as a death world. Your planet is unusually dangerous by galactic standards. Dangerous? Earth isn't that bad. Jake, Professor Kickstall said gently. Earth has active weather, tectonic instability, predatory species, and seasonal extremes that would kill most life forms. Even your plants can be poisonous. The air itself contains toxic levels of corrosive gases by some species' standards, Dean Kristallix added. And humans evolved from persistence hunters. Persistence hunters? You chased prey until exhaustion, for hours, across dangerous terrain. It's unique in the galaxy. Jake sat back down. So you're saying humans are naturally violent? Not violent, Bria said. But you're adapted for challenges that would destroy other species. Your play reflects that. Your children practice skills needed for Death World survival, Professor Kickstall explained. To you, it's games. To us, it's specialized training. So what do I do? Stop being human? Dean Kristallix's crystals chimed softly. No. But perhaps we need better understanding between species. This incident shows communication gaps we must address. Starting with that apology, Professor Kickstall reminded. Yes, sir. Jake pulled out his datapad. But can I also explain why we play these games, not just apologize? That would be educational, Dean Kristallix agreed. As Jake began writing, he wondered what other normal human activities might terrify aliens. If hide-and-seek caused this much trouble, what would happen when they learned about contact sports? Or worse, what if they found out about horror movies being entertainment? This is going to be a very interesting school year, he muttered, typing his apology to the traumatized alien students. The next day, Jake stood in front of the entire xenobiology class. Professor Kickstall had arranged a special session for him to explain human games properly. The classroom was packed, with extra students from other classes, and even some faculty. Members in attendance, just be honest, Bria whispered from the front row. Tell them why humans play. Jake took a deep breath and began his presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Jake Miller, and yesterday my assignment about hide-and-seek upset many of you. I want to explain why humans play games like this. The room was silent except for the slight buzzing of Chatak antennae, and the gurgling of Murdani water tanks. First, let me clarify what actually happens in hide and seek. It's not combat training, it's not predator practice, it's... Jake paused, trying to find the right words. It's like puzzle solving with your whole body, a tentacle raised from the back. Puzzle solving? Yes. When you're hiding, you have to solve questions like, which spot will my seeker least likely check? How can I stay quiet? Can I reach the base before they catch me? It's mental exercise disguised as physical play. But why include the fear element? Dean Kristallix chimed from where she was observing. Because humans find controlled fear exciting. Think of it like a safe thrill. We know nothing bad will happen, so we can enjoy the adrenaline. A Florey student's wings fluttered nervously. But adrenaline is for emergencies, for escaping real danger. Not for humans, Jake explained. We've learned to use our stress responses for pleasure. That's why we have roller coasters, horror movies, spicy food, and games like hide and seek. Horror. Movies? Pip squeaked from behind Bria. Jake realized his mistake. Entertainment that intentionally scares us. For fun. The room erupted in confused chatter. Order, order. Professor Kickstall's tentacles whistled. Jake, please continue with hide and seek specifically. Right. So the game teaches us things that were important on Earth. Quick thinking, spatial awareness, working with others, following rules, and handling excitement. But it's teaching through play, not combat. On your homeworld, Zik the Chatak buzzed. These skills keep you alive? They used to, I guess. Not so much anymore, but kids still need to develop these abilities. Play is safer than real survival training. Steady Stone, the rock being, rumbled thoughtfully. Humans practice ancient survival through modern games. Exactly. Jake felt like he was finally getting through. It's like how your species games teach things your ancestors needed. He gestured to Bria. Florey children practice pollination dances because your species needs precise movement coordination. Chatak larvae practice hive harmony because your society depends on communication. Humans practice quick thinking and physical awareness because we come from a world where both were essential. The alien students began murmuring among themselves. This seemed to make more sense. Professor Kickstall raised a tentacle. Jake, can you demonstrate hide and seek without the frightening elements? Show us a completely safe version? Jake thought for a moment. Sure, let's make it totally peaceful. He cleared his throat. Okay, imagine we're playing Find the Friends. One person closes their eyes and counts slowly to 20. Everyone else finds a spot in the room, but they have to be visible. No hiding behind things, just standing in different places. That's different, Bria noted. Right. The seeker opens their eyes and has to remember where everyone was before they hid. Then they go to each person and gently touch their shoulder. If the person is in the same spot where they started, they help the seeker find others. If they moved, they sit down. Interesting, glubbed the Zephyrian. Memory test combined with movement. Exactly. No fear, no running, no actual hiding, just observation and memory. The students seemed more relaxed. But this isn't the real game, Zik pointed out. No, it's not. Real hide and seek is more exciting. Humans enjoy that excitement. Why? Several species asked at once. Jake thought carefully. Because we're built for it? Earth was dangerous. Humans who enjoyed challenges and thrills were more likely to explore, take risks, and adapt to new situations. Those who found excitement in overcoming difficulties were more likely to survive. Evolutionary psychology, Professor Kickstall murmured approvingly. Basically, yes, we're descended from humans who thought, hey, this dangerous thing looks fun, rather than let's hide forever. That explains much about human space exploration, Dean Kristallix observed, and human warfare success, Steady Stone added quietly. And human extreme sports, Bria contributed. It explains a lot, Jake agreed, but it doesn't mean we're violent or militaristic. We just enjoy controlled challenges. A tentacle from the back raised again. So human children play violent games because they're human, not because they're being trained for war? Right. A human kid playing hide-and-seek isn't preparing for combat any more than a flory chick practicing flower dances is preparing to be a professional pollinator. Though some do become professional pollinators, Bria whispered. And some humans do become soldiers, Jake admitted. But most of us just grow up to be regular people who enjoyed some excitement as kids. Professor Kickstall moved forward on his tentacles. This has been educational. Jake, your explanation helps clarify the cultural context. However, we must establish some guidelines for interspecies activities. Guidelines? Jake asked. Yes, human. Games that might seem like combat training should be clearly labeled, and perhaps modified for mixed species groups. That seems fair. Dean Kristallix's crystals chimed. We'll create a new elective course, cross-species recreational therapy. Students can learn appropriate games for mixed groups. And Jake, Professor Kickstall added, would you be willing to help develop this curriculum? Your perspective could be valuable. Really? After all this trouble? Especially because of this trouble. Understanding requires teachers who bridge cultures. Jake smiled. I'd be honored. The class ended with actual applause, or the species-appropriate equivalent. Chatak buzzed approval. Flory wings chimed like wind instruments, and even the Merdani made pleasant gurgling sounds. As students filed out, many approached Jake with questions. Instead of fear, there was curiosity. Some even asked if he could show them the real hide-and-seek someday, with proper warnings and safety measures. You did well, Bria said as they left together. You made them understand without making them more scared. Thanks, though I still think they're overreacting to a kid's game. Maybe, but now they understand why. That's progress. Walking to the cafeteria, Jake noticed other students nodding respectfully instead of avoiding him. Word had spread about his explanation. He was no longer the scary human whose children practiced warfare. He was the human who helped everyone understand why different species play differently. Hey, Bria, he said as they got their food. Want to learn how to play ghost in the graveyard after dinner? Bria's green skin paled slightly. Does that involve actual ghosts? No, but there is more running than hide and seek. Maybe we start with that safe version you showed in class. Deal. But someday I'm teaching you the real thing. We'll see about that, Deathworlder. Jake laughed. For the first time since the assignment debacle, he felt like things might be getting back to normal. Well, as normal as things could be in a school where his simple children's games were considered exotic and dangerous. 2 weeks after the hide-and-seek incident, Jake found himself in an unexpected position. He was leading the first official cross-species recreational therapy workshop in the Academy's history. I can't believe they made this a real class, he said to Bria as they set up the multi-gravity gymnasium. Believe it, 3 more alien species have requested to join after hearing about your explanation. They want to understand human development better. The workshop participants filed in. Besides his original classmates, Jake saw new faces or face equivalents from species he'd never encountered. Some looked like living crystals with too many angles. Others resembled plants that moved independently. A few were energy beings, contained in specially designed suits. Welcome everyone, Jake began. Today we'll explore different species play activities and find safe ways to experience each other's traditions. Professor Kickstall attended as an observer, his tentacles taking notes on a floating data pad. Let's start with something gentle, Jake continued. Bria, would you demonstrate flower dance for us? Bria stepped forward, her wings catching the light perfectly. She moved through a series of graceful movements, explaining how young Flory learned pollination patterns. The movements were so beautiful that even the rigid rock beings seemed moved. Now, Jake said, let's all try a simplified version. Watching aliens attempt to dance was fascinating. The Chatak did surprisingly well, their multiple arms creating complex patterns. The Merdani adapted the dance for water, creating flowing movements that looked like underwater ballet. Even Steadystone managed slow, careful gestures that maintained the spirit of the dance. Excellent, Jake said. See how we can adapt activities for everyone? Next, Zik the Chatak taught a modified version of hive harmony. Instead of complex insectoid communications, They created simple sound patterns that all species could participate in. It became a kind of galactic orchestra, with each species contributing their natural sounds. Now, Jake said, taking a deep breath, let's try a human game, but we'll modify it for everyone's comfort. Is this the combat training? One of the new students, a being of pure energy, asked nervously. No combat, Jake assured. This is a game called Spotlight Tag. It's like hide and seek, but with important changes for our mixed group. He explained the modified rules. One person controls a light beam. That's the seeker. Others move slowly around the room. No hiding. Just gentle movement. When the light touches someone, they become the new light controller. No running, no fear, no stress. Just observation and coordination. The alien students looked more comfortable with this version. Let's try it, Jake said, dimming the lights and activating a gentle spotlight. The first round was cautious. Students moved barely at all, afraid to trigger the predator response. But as they realized nothing bad happened when caught, they relaxed. Soon the Zephyrians were floating gracefully, the Murdani were swimming in elegant patterns, and even the nervous Flori were moving with confidence. This is actually fun, Pip squeaked, controlling the light beam with surprising precision. See, Jake said. Human games can be adapted. The core isn't violence, it's challenge and interaction. After several rounds, Steadystone rumbled a question. What about the real human version? The one with hiding and running? Jake looked around the room. Would anyone actually want to try it? With full knowledge it's more intense? To his surprise, several tentacles, wings, and appendages raised. But with safety modifications, Bria added quickly. Of course, Jake agreed. How about this? We create a human game experience course. Aliens can try adapted versions of our games with increasing intensity levels, from super safe to moderately exciting. Yes, buzzed Zek enthusiastically. Dean Crystallix appeared at the doorway. I've been monitoring this session. Your proposal has merit, Jake. Really? Indeed. The Galactic Council of Education has been watching your cultural exchange experiment. They're impressed by the successful bridge building between species. Professor, Kickstill slithered forward. Jake, they want to offer you something unprecedented. What's that? The position of Interspecies Cultural Recreation Coordinator. It's a new role created specifically because of this incident. Jake stared at them. You mean a job? Now? A part-time position while completing your studies, Dean Crystallix clarified. You'd help develop programs for understanding human culture across the galaxy. And not just human culture, Professor Kickstill added. Your approach to finding common ground between species is exactly what the galaxy needs. Jake looked around the room. His alien classmates were nodding, or performing their species equivalent of approval. I accept, he said. But I want to work with a team. These games are better when everyone contributes. Naturally, Dean Crystallix chimed. Bria has already been recommended as your primary assistant. Bria's wings fluttered with excitement. Really? I mean, I'd be honored. And Zik will coordinate with insectoid species, Professor Kickstall continued. Glub with aquatic cultures, Steadystone with mineral-based life forms. What about me? Pip squeaked. Cultural liaison for small-statured species, Dean Crystallix answered. The workshop ended with something Jake never expected, a galactic celebration. Each species performed their traditional victory dances, cheers, and acknowledgments. The sound was chaos, but beautiful chaos. Later, as Jake and his new team sat in the cafeteria planning their first official cross-species recreation event, he marveled at how everything had changed. You know, he said, I still can't believe all this started because I wrote about hide and seek. It started, Bria corrected, because you helped us understand that different doesn't mean dangerous, and, Zik added, because you showed us that what seems like combat to one species is just play to another. The galaxy needed this understanding, Steadystone rumbled. Before, species avoided each other. Now, we're learning together. Through games, Glub bubbled. Who would have thought? Jake smiled. Humans have always learned through play. Maybe that's not such a weird thing after all. That night, Jake video called his family back on Earth. "How's school, honey?" his mother asked. "Great, Mom, I got promoted to Galactic Recreation Director." "That's nice, dear, don't let your studies suffer." "I won't." "Hey, Mom?" "Yes?" "Thanks for letting us play hide and seek when we were kids." His mother laughed. "Of course, sweetie, though I never understood why you and Lisa loved that game so much. You'd hide for hours." "Yeah," Jake grinned. "Turns out that was pretty unusual, but I'm glad you let us." After the call, Jake looked out his dorm window at the alien stars. Tomorrow, he'd teach a class on the cultural significance of human playground games. Next week, he'd lead an expedition to experience crystalline meditation sports. All because he'd described a simple children's game to his xenobiology class. Sometimes, Jake thought, the smallest misunderstandings lead to the greatest discoveries. And sometimes the most ordinary human things turn out to be extraordinarily unique in the galaxy. He fell asleep planning a cross-species tag tournament, wondering what other normal human activities might revolutionize interspecies relations. Maybe next semester he'd introduce aliens to charades. Or better yet, competitive board games. The galaxy wasn't ready for Monopoly, but Jake figured they'd work up to it eventually. After all, they had all of eternity to play.